Trade Guitars is giving away this Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul to one of you. How to enter? Subscribe to Play and Trade Guitars on YouTube, and we'll give it away when we hit 50,000 subscribers. Welcome back to Play and Trade Guitars. I'm John, that's Zach behind the camera, and this is Play and Trade Guitars, where we play it and trade it. Continuing our series looking at the best-selling guitars from Squier and Fender, taking a look today at the very popular Classic Vibe 50s Telecaster. All kind of the attributes of what a classic Tele should be with a few modern appointments. We're gonna run through all the specs, we're gonna plug it in and play it. But at the top, remember that if you're in the market for a brand new guitar like this, use our purchase link down in the description because you support us directly when you use our link to buy. And also, we're giving away that Gibson Custom Shop Les Paul when we hit 50,000 subscribers. Use the Gleam entry link down below. Now, let's get to work, because if you've watched our Fender Buyer's Guide, I say that one of the most important distinctions when shopping for a guitar at any price point with Fender and Squier is, do you want something that holds to the more traditional vintage vibe of Fender of yesteryears, or do you want something that's very modern and contemporary? Well, this is completely going classic vibe on the vintage side of things. And if you want a Telecaster at a super low price that really holds to the traditional Telecaster construction of the early 50s, this could be the one for you. So let's head over to the bench and talk full specs. So you've got these vintage style slot tuners. I call these quick loaders. I actually love this style. And you got this nice spaghetti letter style Squier logo and Telecaster right up here on the headstock. One nice modern appointment, the truss rod access is at the top of the neck. It's not in the heel. It's making you have to take it off like a vintage guitar. Nice touch here. This is a real bone nut. We've got 21 frets on this guitar. Poly finished maple neck. You can see it's a pretty thick gloss poly. And the shape of the neck itself is C, so it sits in the hand real nice. We'll get some measurements when we pull the strings off. Coming down to the body, really nice classic appointments. You've got that single ply black pickguard, which looks really sharp. This body is actually made out of pine, and some of the earliest Fenders were made out of pine. So kind of unusual, kind of different, but also pine is known for kind of a punchy, bright sound. So we'll see if that bears out when we plug it in. But then check out this classic Tele bridge. We've got the three barrel saddle design, the tray. These are Fender and Nico pickups, single coil, very classic. We've got a tone, a volume, and the three-way blade selector switch here. Really nice guitar. 4-bolt construction, Squier on the back of the plate, and string-through body. I always want a Tele with string-through, in my opinion. That's what gives a lot of that beautifully resonant tone that comes from a Tele. So a lot of the time, somebody just wants kind of all these classic appointments of an early 50s Telecaster, and Classic Vibe series is nailing that. So really, we're gonna go under the hood now and see if it's worth your money. $419 price point at last check. It's pretty hard to beat that price. It's a Squier that's made currently in Indonesia. This is kind of the second iteration of these Classic Vibe guitars. So let's get to work under the hood and find out if at the end of the day, this guitar is worth the money. Classic 4-screw construction, no contours on the body, no contours on the heel, just classic early 50s Telecaster Classic Vibe. Let's pop this neck off and see what's going on under the hood. Oh yeah, that looks like pine. In the neck pocket, you can get a look at that raw pine poking through. And then a few factory marks for moving around here, barcode system. We'll go ahead and get some neck measurements here. Bow nut measures 1.64 inches. We have a C-shaped maple neck. First fret at 0.82 inches, 12th fret at 0.87 inches. An important modern feature on this guitar too is the actual radius of the neck is a more modern 9.5 inches instead of the vintage 7.25. 7.25 inch vintage Fender necks feel like they have a more pronounced hump. It makes some modern playing a little bit more difficult, things like string bends. Also on a vintage Tele, you would see the truss rod adjustment down here. So modern appointment, really nice to be able to adjust that neck if need be up here. Single ply black pickguard, very classic, looks great I think. And flipping this over, we have this El Nico Fender designed, mark down here, Vibe, neck position. It's actually routed for a humbucker too, so you can check out again the route in the pine body. If you wanted to add a humbucker, it wouldn't be too hard to do so because it's already routed. And checking out our bridge pickup, I love that they went with the classic ashtray style bridge with these 3 saddles. Very vintage vibe here, which is very cool. And the El Nico Fender design pickup and bridge as well. Single coil, Coming over to the controls, we can pop these out and take a look. Looks like we're looking with some mini import pots here, 250K, so that is in line with a vintage Fender. And then we got this, looks like actually a pretty decent switch. Usually you see these import circuit board switches, but this one seems to be a little bit more classic looking. Gonna have a vintage recess style input jack, so you won't be able to use an L-shaped guitar cable, just FYI. We get a reading on these Alnico Fender design pickups. In bridge we have 7.0, so that's a little bit hotter. And a 7.2 in neck, combined reading 3.5. Pretty heavy actually, 8.5 pounds. So it's got that pine body. Is the pine heavier? It could have something to do with it. Tell you what, the neck feels fantastic. Classic Vibe has really got the neck down. If you like a gloss neck, they've got a pretty heavily glossed poly on this maple. The C shape is nice and comfortable. Good ring to the guitar, just from what I'm hearing right next to it. Definitely makes me excited to plug it in. Remember, if you're in the market for one of these, $419, check out our purchase link down in the description because it supports us directly. And you know what time it is? It's time to plug it in, see what it sounds like. Drop a comment as we go. We'll start with DI cleans. We'll get a riff cranked up and then we'll put it behind a track, let it scream, let it do its thing. Let's see how classic this Tele can sound. And at that price point, it could be hard to beat. Stick around to the end because I'll give you 5 reasons why this might be a must-own guitar. I love a good Telecaster, and I really love a good Telecaster at a good price. And the question at the end of the day is, can you get a good Telecaster for $419? Squier Classic Vibe 50s Tele, I'll tell you what, it completely delivers. There's a few small setup things out of the box that I would probably change. I'd probably give the truss rod a tighten. It's a little bit bowed in. I have the slightest feeling of sharp edges on the frets, so I think those would need to be obviously addressed. The tuners are okay. I'd probably replace a tuner. But all this to say, for $419, it's really hard to fault the Telecaster from Squier Classic Vibe. And the thing is, if you're looking at a budget level guitar, why not go for one that's so simple that it's hard to mess up? And a Telecaster, frankly, is kind of hard to mess up, right? You got a slab body, you got a neck that's bolted on, you don't have a bunch of crazy trem parts. You can watch our player versus the Squier Classic Vibe Strat. And that one had a few, I think, quality control issues just because of all the Strat assembly. With a Tele, if you're gonna spend $400 on a guitar, it's pretty hard to mess it up. And if you put the components together with some good sounding pickups, and probably I will give high praise more than anything else to the sound of these pickups, this guitar delivers. So here's a few top reasons why I think the Squier Classic Vibe Tele can be your next must-own guitar. And when you're ready to buy, please use our purchase link in the description to support us directly. But number one, I think the overall preservation of what a 50s Telecaster looked like is so cool. They really went and pulled out all the stops to make it just oozing with vintage character. And then the sound of it coming from these pickups in particular, these Fender Design El Nico pickups, I think are so spot on for what I love, that warm characteristic of vintage Fender pickups in a Telecaster. I love the 3-saddle bridge. I think that adds to the Tele sound. The string through body, I think, adds to a Tele sound. The pine is cool. I actually like seeing all the wood grain. It's a little heavy at 8.5 pounds. This is a pretty heavy Tele, so especially if I'm thinking of like a younger player buying this, it's fairly heavy. So I don't know if that's the pine directly or just the one we have, but it's one thing to be kind of concerned about. But the pluses I'll continue with. I love the pickups. I love the vintage character of the guitar. Number 3 I'll give you is the neck shape. I love the C-shaped neck. The gloss feels great. It doesn't get in the way. It's not too sticky. The frets themselves, the feel of the fretboard, the 9.5-inch modern radius, everything on this guitar is easy to play. Nothing gets in my way. Nothing feels cheap about this guitar. This Telecaster is ready to go with maybe a few dressings from a tech, or if you get one that's not up to snuff, you send it back and get a different one. But it's ready for some upgrades. It's ready for pretty much whatever you can throw at it, and I'm really excited about how it sounds and how it feels. Drop a comment. Let us know what you think of the Squier Classic Vibe Tele. Do you own one? Are you going to buy one? And I think it's also a great entry point for maybe somebody who's into Les Pauls, or you're into humbucker guitars, but who wants to toy with the idea of single coils. You cannot go wrong for this price, and I think it really does deliver at this price point. So I'm super excited about this guitar. Let us know what you think. Make sure you're subscribed. Check out our purchase link. We partner with Zounds to make this possible, and you support us directly when you buy using our purchase link. And we'll see y'all in the next video. Thanks for watching, and we appreciate it.